Okay, ni hao, without Stephanie. Wow, this is weird lighting. I'm in the kitchen, I'm cooking, and I'm trying to multitask because that's what my life consists of. This is really strange lighting. There we go, that's a little better. Okay, so I'm at an interesting part of my language learning, and I really want to summarize where I am because I think it's an important part that's really frustrating right now, but that I think is going to build to a really, really substantial base for any language learning that I do in the future. There's a weird, can you see that light in my eyes? That's so bizarre. I swear the lighting in this apartment is borderline freakish. It's either really, really dim or really, really bright, and so for some reason I have like crazy alien eyes right now. Ooh. Okay, anyway, point being, it's this. I'm from HSK2 to HSK3, which again, for the new guys, because there are a bunch of new people joining the channel. Hi, welcome. I'm using the test, the HSK test, to really propel my language forward, mostly in the terms of vocabulary, but clearly there's going to be grammar in there because you can't really have sentences without grammar. And there's going to be sounds in there because I'm doing a lot with the listening for the test, and that connects to the reading goal that I have, because my main goal is reading, but you can't really read Hanzo without hearing Hanzo because of a lot of similarities within the characters and even within the Pinyin. There's a lot of similarities, so you need to have both the sound and the visuals to move forward. So all of that became abundantly clear after a few stumble and fall moments. Okay, so I'm using the test to really project me forward, because a lot of the materials that I find interesting to read, even the graded materials, I think I'm burning the toast. Okay, hold on. Okay, even the graded materials, I'm going to be spreading some almond butter, so if you hear weird sound, it's that. Anyway, so even the graded stuff in Chinese, generally from what I found, and I haven't actually searched for the past 6 months, but the first 9 months of this project, I was searching desperately for different kinds of materials to help me read, and I found some really good ones, and then I found some ones that I want to go back to, but a lot of them, and yes, including Chairman's Vow, for those of you that want to recommend that, I have that, it's on my wish list, but a lot of the interesting articles that they have really accumulate at, or really become available at HSK 3, which I'm almost at. I know I'm studying HSK 3, but I'm not truly at an HSK 3 level to be able to do this. So I've been using the test instead, because the test materials really encompass a lot of the things that you need to get used to in the language, including the sounds, the characters, just the writing system, the orthography of the language, that kind of thing. I have a weird hair that keeps tickling me when I move my arms, and you know how much I move my arms. Okay, I think I got it. Anyway, so I've been using the test materials to get me there. I'm not really going to do anything super special with the test certificates. I'm not even actually requesting test certificates. I'm just using the test to give me external deadlines to move forward. And so far, so good. I did rush through HSK2, so I have got an automatic review built in right now, where I'm doing 2 and 3 at the same time, but a lot slower than I was doing before. So it's actually a really beautiful pace. But getting back to the place that I'm at that's slightly frustrating, and hold on, I have to get rid of this. Okay, so the interesting place that I'm at is that the huge jump from 2 to 3 really highlights a few things that I wouldn't say I should have done at the beginning, because quite honestly, you do what you can where you are. But I kind of lost writing in there for a bit. I don't think I'm ever going to really write by hand, but there is a very strong connection between being able to know the stroke order and have that body memory, or that what's it called, muscle memory. That's it, the muscle memory and stuff, and remembering the nuances in the characters. There are a lot of characters that look the same, and if you can recognize them by how many strokes they are and the order of the strokes, then that is supposed to be one of the things that helps you tell the difference as you build up your vocabulary. I played with, because I really like to write the characters, I often call it drawing the characters because it feels like an art form to me. I did that for a number of months on a few different apps. There's whole videos on it. But then I fell off because I started to focus on other things. And that's the thing that's such a huge mountain as far as the Chinese language goes, is you've got the pinyin, you've got the different intonation even within the sentence that is different, I think, than English. You've got the strong syllabic, like very, very limited variation in words as far as syllables goes. There's like 1 syllable, 2 syllables, sometimes 3. I think I've hit 1 or 2 words that are 4 syllables, but they're much more, there's just a huge amount of 2-syllable words, which is a very different sound to folks that come from English where our syllables are just all over the place in length. So you've got that to get used to, you've got the handwriting to get used to, you've got the pinyin to get used to, you've got the tones to get used to. And I know I'm overlapping some things and kind of being redundant, but then you've got, for me, a big thing is the spacing issue with the words. There's no spaces between words whatsoever. You just have characters next to characters next to characters, and some of them make up words, and some of them are words in and of themselves, like wool, I, me, you. Those are single, one character that makes up a word. But then you have things like xie is like thank you, right? That's 2 characters together. It makes up one. Actually, that makes up 2 words. That just makes sense. Oh, am I burning again? Oh, hold on. So I guess part of the lesson in this is I strongly advise you not to make a video while you're trying to use a toaster oven. So let me think of a better one that's 2 words. I know so many two-syllable words. It's ridiculous. Wait, let me look around. Oh, pizza! Why not? I did a whole video on pizza. So that's cup. There you go, pizza. And even, although there's so many. There's just so many that are 2 syllables. And so the spacing of the words are like that. The word order is something that is really tricky. And so there's all of these different things. So I'm trying to use my study plan for HSK 1 and 2 and transpose that over onto HSK 3, and it was really apparent even within the first chapter that this was not going to work. So over the past 3 weeks, I have been trying to alter my study plan to fit HSK 3, and I feel like by the time I hit a month from the transition from HSK 2 to HSK 3, ignoring the week that I took off after the test, because you're allowed to do that, damn it, I think I will finally have a study plan that has trackable, quantifiable times with the activities that I need to do. I needed to reincorporate actually the decomposition when I take a word and I spend time with it and look at the components in it, including the sound components that I haven't really spent a lot of time on, looking at the meaning components, looking at the different parts of it that may help me remember the meaning. I mean, there's so many different parts of that, and I find that part interesting. So in addition to it being really helpful, I want to bring back the interesting part of the language. That'll help as well. The second thing is the writing, like I mentioned. I need to bring back the writing. 1, because I really like to do it. It's very meditative for me. And 2, because it will help me distinguish my ever-growing vocabulary. I mean, I've gone from 150 words in HSK 1. By the end of HSK 3, I'll have 600, plus all of the collocations that I'm picking up and actually going to start making flashcards for. And some of those actually have some of the supplementary vocabulary, which is beyond the 600. So I'm guessing by the time I'm done, I'll have at least 800, with HSK 3, I'm guessing I'll have about 800 words at my disposal, which doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, that's a lot different than if you were to say, I know 800 words in Spanish. You wouldn't even count the number of words that you learned going from English to Spanish, because that's not the hard part, right? There's so many words that are similar, and there's so many sounds that are similar, that there's so much similarity that you would pick something that's much more different in order to quantify your awesomeness in learning the new language. And in Chinese, it's words. We count words, damn it. So anyway, so I think by next week, by the time I go on a mini vacation, I think When did I start saying mini vacation instead of just vacation? Oh well, anyway, I think by the time the vacation ends, if not by the time it begins, I will have more of a tracking method for HSK3 that will take me all the way through HSK3. It's always going to change a little bit, but I feel like I'm getting closer to something that will change less from week to week. It will include straight reading or listening time alone, listening time shadowing where I'm saying it back, and listening time where I'm reading the transcripts. Those are 3 different activities, believe it or not. I'll probably do them near each other time-wise, but they are 3 different things. I'm also going to be taking the transcripts and identifying the grammar points in the chapter, which makes me cringe and I hate it and it doesn't motivate me, it demotivates me, but until I figure out how else to highlight the grammar that's happening, that adds meaning to the sentences, until I do that, I'm going to do this. I literally just write GP2, GP3, GP is grammar point, right next to the line in the transcript. I don't know what else to do yet, so until then, I'm just gonna raise my consciousness on where that grammar point exists in the text that I'm using, and the text is the transcript to the listening. What else? So there's that. I'm going to be doing the other exercises in the books, which includes the rearranging of the words. They give you words out of order and you have to unrearrange them. You have to arrange them in order. I haven't really been able to do that successfully for HSK 1 or 2. What I think I'm going to do for that is to cut up little bits of paper, put each word that they give me on there and move them around until I think I have them, and then write them down in the book itself, just until I get used to the word order more, because it's something that I haven't picked up on as much as I think I should. There's that word again. By the massive input that I've gotten from HSK 1 and HSK 2. I guarantee you I've organically picked up a lot more of the word order than I think I have, but I'm feeling very uneasy with it, so I'm going to little paper strategy my way into feeling more comfortable with it. What are some of the other activities? They have straight reading activities in the book as well, some associated with pictures and a lot of them not associated with pictures. There's a lot of conversation thingies where you read a conversation, part of a conversation at the top, part at the bottom, and you match them. Similar to HSK 1 and 2. There's also things where they give you a sentence or two and then they make an assumption or an inference, and then you're supposed to say if it's true or false. Okay, those don't feel that bad as long as I know the vocabulary. I'm still doing the Lightner box, but I feel like I need to include more time to standardize my flashcards. There's a few different versions of them, so since I ordered so many packets of the new flashcards, I want to standardize all of them, and I'm slowly doing that. I'm bringing them with me, so when I have a few minutes, I'll do like 10 or 15 of them, and hopefully by the time I reach the end of HSK 3, they'll all have the same sort of format with the same information. That also helps me review while I'm doing that. And I think I'm going to, when I do my tracking plan, I think I'm going to put like flashcard maintenance with the writing that I do. I think I'm going to put those together because that seems like an organic thing to do. I'm practicing the writing and then I'm fixing that flashcard. That seems logical to put together. And I'm probably missing a couple of other things, but I think I'm going to put time frames on them. Not as much finish this task, finish that task within the workbook, but do this for half an hour, do this for an hour. I recently read something that, actually I need to do the third batch of toast-driven items. Hold on. I read something recently that for input to be effective, it needs to be 6 hours. I'm not going to research this. I don't care. I like the idea of 6 hours being a guidepost for now. So I'm going to try to have 6 hours of listening input, just listening. So when I stop and read the listening transcript, that's not going to count. It's straight just listening, listening, listening. So I'm going to try to aim for 6 hours of it a day. I don't think I'll be able to get 6 hours of totally comprehensible input in, but I think I can get close. I still have all the review stuff from HSK 1 and 2. I can do like half an hour of review of that. A lot of that does make sense to me because I did it so many times, and that vocabulary is much further along than HSK 3, so I can include the review stuff in there to get up to that 6 hour level. If that works, I can stick with 6 hours of listening a week, and if it doesn't, then I can move up to more. So there's a lot of different things happening, but I feel, and I'm really, really struggling with how I will best cement the grammar. I was reminded of Scott Thornberry, who is in ELT, English as a language. Ooh, I've forgotten what that means. That's terrible. Teaching English as a foreign language expert, let's just say that. He is absolutely one of the most comprehensible, down-to-earth language teacher, trainers, language he has so many books that are so understandable and so many seminars and speeches, and I saw him do a plenary once, and he's just absolutely the most down-to-earth, understandable person about language learning. And a lot of his stuff about language learning isn't necessarily connected to English, but that is the world that I was in, so that's primarily what he addresses, but a lot of it can overlap into other languages, I think, and I forgot about that. So thank you to Mike for reminding me the other day on Instagram. Yay! And I told him, Mike, I'm like, sometimes I forget the stuff over in my teaching life. I forget to bring it over. Sometimes I bring stuff over too much and I spend too much time analyzing myself, and sometimes I forget to bring the good stuff that could help me over into my learning life. The two worlds really should overlap more than they should. Oh, that's that word again. The two should overlap more where it can help me, and less where it could bring me down and critique what I'm doing. So I need to work on that balance more. But there's a lot of things I learned that helped my students that I haven't been doing myself. I have been doing a fair number of it, so I don't want to criticize myself to the point of, I'm a terrible teacher, or I'm a terrible self-teacher, because I don't think I'm doing that badly. For somebody who's studying part-time, one of the most, if not the most difficult language learners for English speakers to study, I think I'm doing okay. But there's definitely always room for improvement, so here we go. But I feel like I'm at this point where if I can, and I think I said this before, I feel like over the next couple of months, I feel like I'm going to have this really big breakthrough of sorts where I get further than I've ever gotten in a second language. I feel like I'm going to get further in knowing how I can absorb a language than I've ever gotten. Not that I'm going to be rapidly producing, whether it be writing or speaking, the language in some sort of intricate form where you're going to be like, oh my god, what is her method? I want to do that. I'll pay $1 million to learn how to do that. That's not my goal, and that's not where I'm going to be, and that's not the speed I'm going at, and that's not how my brain works. But a breakthrough in the sense that I think I will stop thinking I can't learn a second language. I will stop believing that I'm stuck at monolingualism for the rest of my life, that I can only be mildly functional in other languages, to the point of sounding like a 2-year-old who's just pointing and saying, I want this, I want that. This toaster oven, I think, is just dead. It's burning everything. Yikes. Anyway, so I'm excited to get to that point where I start to believe that I can actually break through with this, and that I can communicate, whether it be in spoken or more so written form. I want to believe that that can happen on more than a very, very, very elementary scale. I am having baby conversations in extremely ungrammatical or incorrect typed Chinese on in my WeChat, which is like the Chinese version of Facebook, only like 1,000,000 times better. I am going back and forth a little bit in actual Hanzi characters, which is also just called the Chinese language. I am doing a little bit of that. And that's really satisfying, but it's also really small bits that I probably knew months ago. So although it's nice to see that I can go back and forth a little bit in the language, in its written form, it's not fluent. Like from the conversation that comes, the information that comes in via text, sometimes I do need to translate it because I can't just pick one word to translate in WeChat. It translates the whole message. And then I can reply, generally speaking, but I have to search within the limited vocabulary I have for something that means kind of what I mean versus something that's as detailed as I would be in English. And that's what happens when you're learning a language. But it's definitely a rough process. But it's still kind of nice to be able to do after wanting to learn how to type. But I'm also using the Pinyin method, where I'm typing in the Pinyin and then selecting the character. And I'm making mistakes. I hit mother ma instead of horse ma for the question word, and that got a few giggles, as it should. So I suppose that was one of my biggest mistakes so far. But I think I was the one laughing the hardest on that one, actually, because I was like, oh, I don't see the difference. What do you mean? What's wrong? And then I looked at it again and I went, oh. Because sometimes the font is so tiny that I have to do a screenshot and then pinch it bigger, and then I can see how big my errors are. So there's that. But it is kind of fun to play with the language in written form. It's easier to mold it in writing form than it is in speaking form. And actually, in the interview I did with Phil and Ife recently, we had 3 people in a podcast interview, Ife did say that using writing as a way to get the grammar right until you use it enough times, not just the grammar, but to get the language right and precise enough that you want it to be, and understandably enough, it could, because you can edit it, he said it's a good way, a stepping stone to then speaking it quicker and more accurately, so there's less confusion. And I don't think have I heard a lot of people say that? I don't know, but he's very good at languages. He's quite young and very intelligent, and when he said that, it really, really resonated with me, because I do grab onto the written form of languages first, and I've never pushed on long enough to get super good at the speaking part. But maybe if I latch on long enough and keep going, maybe that'll happen. I want to prove his theory right, because I really like that theory for people like me who are extremely visual, extremely slow language learners that really, really appreciate, love, and live in the written form of languages in a way that is enjoyable, not just something to hide behind. All right, so those are my thoughts this week. Thank you to everybody who's just joined us. My language learning process is slow, and it's messy, and a lot of my practice that you'll see on this channel is just that, it's practice. So yeah, so I'm going to make a ton of mistakes, and I'm going to do them very, very visibly, and part of that is so that I can see later on what the mistakes were, to see if I can help folks who are learning later, or just more so to see where the mistakes happen and why. And I don't know, I just feel like doing an investigation on myself. So if you're brave enough to watch this process, I appreciate you more than I can say, because having an audience really, really, really helps in moments like this when I feel like I'm just on the struggle fest. So thank you. Thank you very much. Satyen.